Hey guys, this is Demonology Warlock, who run Double Fell Guard, guide for patch 5.1. Okay, hey guys, now this is how I play Demonology Warlock in Arena PvP in general. Okay, we're going to be running it with Grimoire of Service, which gives you 2 Fell Guards, and it's a lot of burst guys, a lot of burst. Now, let's go straight into it with talents. Now first we're going to be using Dark Regeneration. Now this is a 30% heal, but then it increases healing received by 25% over 12 seconds. Now this works perfectly with Glyph of Hellstone, which you receive 100% more healing from using Hellstone, but it was restored every 10 seconds. So this works perfectly with Dark Regeneration. Next we're using Howl of Terror. It's a 40-second cooldown, and it can fear up to 5 enemies for 20 seconds. Now this is really good for CCing the healer, or just getting a warrior off your back. Now you can also go with Mortar Coil, because it's 15% health over 45 seconds each time you can use it. Now this is really helpful. I've used it a lot in Arena when I've just been double DPS and 2v2s. Next is Sacrificial Pact. Now that's obvious. You're going to be using your Fell Guard, which has a lot of health, so Sacrificial Pact is the way to go. Next is Blood Fear, so it provides a lot more CC. Just remember, don't overuse it or else you do lose a lot of health. It's 10% maximum health each time you use it. Now next is Grimoire of Service. Now we're going to be running it with 2 Fell Guards, so it's going to be a lot of damage and a lot of CC as well, because I do believe your second Fell Guard does randomly use Axe Toss. Next, we're going to be using Archmon's Vengeance. Now, people have been debating whether or not to go with Manoros Fury or Archmon's Vengeance, but I feel it's more important to go with Utility, I believe. So even when this is on passive, 5% of damage you take is going to be brought back onto the target. Now this works perfectly with Tarnixing as a macro with Sacrificial Pact, so that way you're under a lot of damage, or else you wouldn't have popped Sacrificial Pact, and the target's going to be taking 25% of the damage that they're causing to you for 8 seconds. This is perfect for when you're up against a warrior who's just bursting you down. Now let's go into Glyphs. Like I said before, Hellstone works perfectly with Dark Regeneration. Now Siphon Life, because your Doom in Metamorphosis form ticks for 49k, 50k, and 20% of that each time is a lot of health, especially with Hand of Gul'dan, Shadow Flame dot, as well as Corruption dot. Next, we're going to be running it with Imp Swarm for a lot more damage. Now, we're going to be using Health Funnel as a macro with Sacrificial Pact. Now, Sacrificial Pact is on a 1 minute cooldown, and Health Funnel is an instant heal for your pet. Doesn't cost mana, health, anything, but it's on 10-second cooldown. So within that 1 minute, as long as you're using Health Funnel, your pet will be back up to 100% health, and you'll be able to use Sacrificial Pact again and get the full value. Next, Glyph of Shadow Bolt. Now, even though Shadow Bolt isn't in your actual rotation for PvP, I can see you using it in PvE or just in a battleground or something like that when you are free casting from a ledge or something like that. And the reason is you take this glyph is because it will use 3 Shadow Bolts, so it increases the chance of your crits. Next, we're going to be using Glyph of Nightmare, so you can run across water. That's a pretty obvious one. Now next, let's go into your rotation. Now you're going to want to play as, you can play as an aggressive or passive player. As in aggressive, you can go in there, you can start Fell Flaming, Fearing, using your Carrying on Swarm, pushing him back, stunning him. But then again, if you're in 3 phase, you don't want to be aggressive. You don't want to be in there with the other person. So I suggest playing sort of a more passive way. As in, you're letting your pets do it, you're coming out, you're LOSing, you're coming out, Fell Flaming, Chaos Waving, that sort of thing. Now, first couple things you're going to want to know is before you start the fight, you always want to make sure you have your Demonic Summon up somewhere where you can LOS away from the target, so that way you're always safe. Now, a few things you may not know. You can use Demonic Teleport once in normal caster form, but in Metamorphosis form you can use it again, as shown. So don't forget that. Also, guys, please don't forget to use Carrion Swarm. It's 9,000 damage. I believe it depends on how much mastery you have, but it's 9,000 damage and it's only a 12-second cooldown, and it's a good pushback, especially if you're in Dalaran Arena. You're going to easily push them off the ledge, fear them, they're going to run all the way around, and then you can just focus your other target. Next, I know people don't like backpedalers, but guys, if you're in trouble in Arena, you're going to be using backpedaling. That's an obvious one. So you're backpedaling, and then you can just use Demonic Leap, and you can backpedal, and it'll leap you all the way back. So that's really helpful, and remember to use that. Okay, now when you first enter a fight, you're going to want to open with, so bear with me, I'm going to be going nice and slowly so you won't see all the buffs. You're going to want to open with a Hand of Gul'dan, so that applies the slow buff. Then you're going to want to apply your Corruption and Curse of Elements. Then you're going to want to burst, and then you're going to want to go into Metamorphosis, use your Chaos Wave, and then you're going to want to use Soulfire. Now, your Metamorphosis form should be up by then. You're going to want to apply Hand of Gul'dan again, and Fell Flame. Now, if you really wanted in the start, instead of going into Metamorphosis, you could have spammed Fell Flame until you get 400 Fury, but I sort of like to get it off straight away in the beginning. And also guys, sorry I forgot, don't forget to put your Doom on the target. That's a lot of damage those ticks, so don't forget that. And just fear and stun when necessary. Now, go through the macros. Our first macro is my heal macro, Dark Regeneration, Health Stone, Unending Resolve. Guys, don't forget to use Unending Resolve. It is a great spell to use, and a lot of Warlocks don't like using it because of its debuff. Now next, for your bursts, make sure you have it in this order if you're going to be using your Felguard. Now, Dark Soul Knowledge, and then your Gladiator trinket, so your whatever trinket you have that gives you spell power. Next, Grimoire of Service, your Felguard, so you're getting 2 Felguards. And then Axe Toss, and then Fellstorm, so you've got the person locked down for the next 4 seconds, so you can just go at him with whatever. Next, we've got our Corruption and Curse of Elements. I've just put that in a cast sequence macro. Remember, all these macros will be in the description. Now, for Sacrificial Pact. Sacrificial Pact is a great spell, and I feel if you have to use it that urgently, then you're obviously taking a lot of damage. That's why I tied Archbond's Vengeance in with it, so that way when the target is bursting, that's when you would only use Sacrificial Pact. They're going to be taking a lot of damage back. And Health Funnel, guys, don't forget to use Health Funnel. 15% back to your pet, it still helps, especially when you're going to use Sacrificial Pact in another minute. And then the last 2 macros, just Set Focus, Fears and Stun. Okay, now, I recommend a few professions. Now you can go with tailoring, that's an obvious one, but if you do want to sort of sustain yourself and be able to make gold along the way, I recommend alchemy and jewel crafting, because enchanting mats do cost a lot, like the Jade Serpent enchant for your staff or whatever for your weapon does cost a lot. So I generally tend to go with alchemy and jewel crafting. Alchemy, because you receive a Alchemist Flask that you can use in Arena and Battlegrounds and RBGs. That gives you 300 Intellect for 2 hours. It lasts through death, sort of thing. And then Jewel Crafting, because you get Brilliant Serpent's Eye. Now you can only use 2 of these, but 320 Intellect, guys, that's a lot of Intellect. Okay, so we're going to go through the opening one more time. You're going to want to have your Demonic Summon down, somewhere where you can LOS away from the target. You're going to want to open with Curse of Elements and Corruption, like I'm doing here. So your pet's going to be in. Make sure your pet's in, you don't just burst and it just won't work, or else he'll be from a distance and his Fellstorm will be a waste. Also guys, I forgot to mention this, Legion Strike is a fantastic spell. Make sure you're using it on the correct target. Legion Strike gives a 10% healing reduction debuff on the target for 5 seconds, and your pet will always keep this up anyway. It's on auto cast for him, so he will always have this up. That's always a permanent 10% debuff. Now, so like I said, we're going to open with Chaos Bolt, our Hand of Gul'dan, and apply our debuffs. We're going to burst, put a couple Fell Flames in, up to 400, Chaos Wave, Shadow Bolt, oh sorry, not Shadow Bolt, Touch of Chaos, Fear, and then Soulfire. By that time, the target should be dead. Easy mode. And if you're in a healer, guys, and you've already popped your burst, you're just going to want to fear off, and then just save your Fury up to around 800, and then you're going to want to go into the Metamorphosis and start hitting him, even if your trinkets aren't up, because you can get your Fury up pretty quickly spamming Fell Flame. Okay guys, I hope this guide was helpful, and I hope you do find maybe a better way of doing this. But I also will be providing enchants for weapons and stuff and gems down in the description. Okay guys, remember to check the description box for more information about the content I provided in this video. And I meant Jade Spirit, not Jade Serpent. Alright, laters guys.